lost to Iowa without chit chat for the second half, and with Addy Deal continuing to struggle to start the season. They lost to an Iowa team that's not going to be at their full capacity for the season. That is a scary, scary thing if you are Duke. Like, they lost to a team that I'm not going to say is not great, isn't a great team, because Iowa are a very solid team. That being said, like,
Kara Lawson holds the position of Team USA coach, leading a roster that includes Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Paige Buchers, and potentially other star players. While Sarah Strong could be a valuable addition, her inclusion remains uncertain. Since accepting this prestigious role, Lawson's performance with Duke has raised eyebrows across the basketball community. Duke currently stands at 3-3, a disappointing record for a program that entered the season ranked 7th nationally. The struggles became apparent when they fell to Baylor, a team that subsequently lost to Iowa despite playing without Hannah Stulka for half the game and dealing with Addison Deal's ongoing early season challenges. Losing to an Iowa squad operating below full strength represents a troubling sign for Duke's program. While Iowa remains a competitive program, an elite team like Duke shouldn't have suffered that defeat.
that being said, like, Baylor, if they're this elite team, shouldn't have lost that game, and they beat Duke. Not only that, if you're looking at their games, they scored 49 points against West Virginia. They scored 71 points against LIB. And they played USF. And wait, who's USF's current coach?
The same Baylor squad managed to overcome Duke, highlighting the Blue Devils' current vulnerabilities. The offensive numbers tell an alarming story. Duke managed just 49 points against West Virginia and 71 against LIU. Their matchup against South Florida proved particularly concerning. They lost by 13 points to a program without its permanent head coach. South Florida operates under interim leadership following Jose Fernandez's departure, yet still dominated Duke. The Blue Devils also fell to Fairfield, though their loss to UCLA could be considered more understandable given UCLA's strength. However, UCLA subsequently defeated Duke as well, exposing a Duke team severely hampered by scoring difficulties.
And wait, who's USF's current coach? Do they still have the is their coach up on the box score? No. Is their coach the dude who coached the Wings, or is he gone? So no, the coach is University of South Florida. Is Jose? No, they have an interim head coach. So Jose Fernandez is gone. They don't even have a proper head coach. They have an interim head coach.
Lawson has historically demonstrated strong defensive coaching abilities, and perhaps the roster's raw offensive talent could eventually overcome these struggles. However, since taking the Team USA position, her Duke tenure has been marked by consistent struggles. The situation has deteriorated to the point where basketball fans have begun expressing genuine concern about the national team's prospects. Some observers have even started congratulating international players like Laetitia Amihere and Janelle Salon in advance, suggesting potential Olympic gold medals and world championship victories for their countries. This represents unprecedented territory. Never before have American basketball fans seriously questioned Team USA's women's basketball dominance. However, the concern may be overblown. The sheer talent level of available American players likely transcends any coaching limitations.
They don't even have a proper head coach. They have an interim head coach. They lost by 13 to a team that is not very good. Like, again, they're not terrible. They lost to Fairfield. They lost to FIU, or say they beat FIU. They lost to Fairfield. Fair enough losing to UCLA. Like, it is what it is. You're not going to beat UCLA. But they beat Duke. And this is a Duke team that just can't score. They just can't score, and they're a terrible offensive team. And
with the right roster selection, victory remains nearly inevitable, regardless of who calls the plays from the sideline. Consider an optimal starting five: Caitlin Clark running point, Paige Buchers at shooting guard, Sonia Citron at small forward, Brianna Stewart at power forward, and Asia Wilson anchoring the center position. Stewart tends to perform better for Team USA than Nafisa Collier, despite Collier's superior WNBA performance, making Collier better suited for a bench role.
Defensive team, and we've now got in her defense, she has been a good defensive coach, and maybe the sheer offensive talent of the team. But like since Cara Lawson has been hired as the Team USA coach, she has been horrendous. And not only that, it's now at the stage where everything, like the amount of people being like...
Defensively, teams could simply funnel opponents toward Wilson's rim protection, securing victories consistently. The bench depth remains extraordinary. Jackie Young could run point off the bench. Angel Reese brings energy and rebounding. Collier deserves significant minutes despite not starting. Citron fits perfectly in her role.
The amount of people being like, oh, I don't know. Like already saying, you know what, shout out Layla Lacan and Janelle Solon for your future Olympic gold medals. Go and win the world championship. Like there are people concerned for the first time ever about the Team USA national team. I wouldn't be. I think their players are too good. I don't think there's any coach that will lose. If they pick the right team, I don't think there's a coach that will lose. Like if you go out with a 5 of Caitlin Clark at the 1, Paige Beckers at the 2,
Aaliyah Boston must serve as the backup center. Alyssa Thomas likely earns a roster spot. Sabrina Ionescu will almost certainly make the team, though questions exist about whether she's the optimal choice. Chelsea Gray provides veteran leadership and could handle backup point duties effectively. Kalia Copper represents another strong option instead of Ionescu, though Nike's influence might prevent that substitution. With this caliber of roster, coaching becomes almost irrelevant.
Caitlin Clark at the 1, Paige Beckers at the 2, Sonia Citron at the 3, because I think Sonia Citron is a better fit at that 3 position rather than just going for, oh, who's the best. Stewie at the 4 and Age at the 5, because Stewie plays better for Team USA than Fee Collier does, even though Fee's the better player. You bring Fee off the bench because, for me, I think it's between, like, Aja has to play the 5. You bring Fee off the bench, and I think Stewie and Aja fit too well together. Caitlin Clark will basically just...
The team could theoretically run Clark at center and still dominate opponents. The previous Olympics should have generated more...
too well together. Caitlin Clark will basically just run the show. She might average 8 points and 11 assists per game. And Paige Beckers is just the best 2-guard in the WNBA. You don't need defense. You just funnel them into Aja and you win every game. And then when you have a bench of... You're probably still bringing Jackie Young playing the 1 off the bench. You're probably bringing Angel Reese. Fee should be on the bench, but they'll start Fee at the 3. You should be bringing Citron.
They've abandoned any assumption of automatic gold medals. Historical patterns suggest that when Team USA faces adversity or receives a scare, they typically respond by elevating their performance and focus. When fully locked in, American dominance remains absolute, regardless of coaching. Past American losses or close calls have rarely resulted from talent deficiencies. Usually arrogance or lack of cohesion caused the problems. Sometimes the talent gap wasn't sufficient to overcome complacency or fundamental basketball mistakes, particularly when Team USA players don't play cohesively while international teams train extensively together. Lawson isn't incompetent enough to cost Team USA an Olympic championship.
Channel, is it a brand thing? Yeah, whoever's... I have to say, whoever is running that, you've done a good job so far on Twitter, like, the last while. Anything that they post seems to go semi-viral or have some sort of relevancy. So, Caitlin Clark got mentioned in this tweet, and what has happened? It's the fucking nonsense. It's the nonsense. It's the... We are not going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about anything but basketball. We're going to talk...
The only scenario for American defeat involves catastrophic roster mistakes, including Clark, Buchers, Reese, and Citron alongside established stars like Collier, Stewart, and Wilson makes victory virtually guaranteed. Wilson, Stewart, and Collier are locks for any roster. Adding 5 emerging stars to 5 established veterans plus 2 elder stateswomen creates an unbeatable combination. The World Cup next year represents the more immediate challenge. A roster featuring strong...
We're going to talk about anything but basketball. We're going to talk about any we're gonna talk about all anything that has not to do with it, and we're gonna make everything about sport nothing to do with sport. Because let's be real, even if like when we talk about who are the biggest and like most relevant WNBA players, there is a number one, Caitlin Clark, huge gap. Number two, Angel Reese, huge gap. Sabrina Ionescu purely because of the shoes. Nothing else.
No lineup adjustment could undermine this talent advantage. The roster selection process would need to go catastrophically wrong for defeat to become possible. Boston deserves mention as another crucial piece who may have been initially overlooked. She's essential to the roster. Strong might need to wait for the next Olympic cycle 4 years from now. Ultimately, concerns about Lawson's coaching abilities appear overblown.
Sabrina Ionescu purely because of the shoes. Nothing else for Sabrina Ionescu. Nothing about her on-court play. She just has probably the best shoe. And her and Aja neck and neck with Paige a little bit below them. Like, that's really where it goes. That's really, like, if we're going to be honest, that's what it is. That's what it is. Like, the person who fills out golf arenas is very different. And to say, if we're talking about popular culture in non-basketball related things, then that's where you talk about
the talent available to Team USA makes them virtually unbeatable when properly deployed, regardless of who stands on the sideline calling plays. Forbes released their rankings of influential female athletes some time back, placing Caitlin Clark at number 4. This recognition came alongside her inclusion in Forbes 30 Under 30 and the 100 Most Powerful Women in 2024 list from the previous year. Recently, a social media account called Athlete Vanity posted content featuring Clark that sparked significant online debate. This particular page has developed a pattern of generating semi-viral content lately, with their tweets consistently gaining traction and relevance. Their Twitter management strategy appears effective, as virtually everything shared gains substantial engagement.
Basketball related things. Then that's where you talk about where you can bring in Angel Reese. Her popularity in popular culture is there. It's not quite Caitlin Clark. Sorry, her name isn't that much less famous than Caitlin Clark, but for basketball reasons, it is Caitlin Clark. Like, it's Caitlin Clark. Like, we know that. Like, look, I'm Irish. People just in my day-to-day life are like, oh, you still making those 2K videos? I'm like, oh, no, I just kind of make WNBA videos. And they're like, oh, Caitlin Clark's unbelievable, isn't she? That's the first response you get from everybody.
The responses to Clark's mention triggered predictable patterns, discussions that avoid basketball entirely. Instead of athletic analysis, conversations veer toward everything except actual gameplay and performance. Topics that should center on sporting achievement get twisted into unrelated debates. When examining the most prominent WNBA players, there's Clark at number 1, followed by a significant gap before Angel Reese at number 2. Another considerable gap exists before Sabrina Ionescu, whose relevance stems primarily from her signature shoe rather than on-court performance specifically. Aja Wilson and Paige Buchers follow at roughly equal levels behind them.
Well, isn't she? That's the first response you get from everybody. Nobody, like, or, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, because, again, I have a history of being a fan of Angel Reese basketball player. The question of it, is Angel Reese actually that bad? Because the only thing to go viral of Angel Reese is the lowlights on the court. But for this right here, half of the fucking responses to this, and there are people, I'm reading think pieces calling out, obviously they're like most powerful women in sports.
That hierarchy reflects reality fairly accurately. The distinction between filling arenas and cultural popularity matters here. Regarding mainstream cultural impact beyond basketball, Reese holds substantial presence, though still trailing Clark's level. Reese's name recognition approaches Clark's, but for basketball-specific reasons, Clark dominates clearly. Even casual international observers recognize this reality. Random conversations with people unfamiliar with basketball content inevitably lead to immediate recognition of Clark's talent and impact.
Calling out, obviously they're like most powerful women in sports. How is she more popular than? They're basically saying it's racist that she is where she is. No name of Aja Wilson because she won everything this year. It's like, no, she was there at 15. And if anything, by the way, Simone Biles is too low. I'll give you that. Simone Biles is too low. Coco Gauff, yeah. And my favorite thing is like, because we can be honest, when Kayla's healthy, she's top 3 player in the world. But everything
Reese's viral moments often highlight struggles rather than successes, particularly regarding her on-court lowlights circulating online. Response threads to these rankings filled with lengthy analytical posts questioning the legitimacy of Clark's placement. Claims emerged suggesting racial bias affected her ranking position, particularly questioning why A'ja Wilson wasn't positioned higher given her championship victories. However, Wilson actually ranked at number 15 on the list. Some valid criticisms exist. Simone Biles arguably deserved higher placement. Coco Gauff's situation parallels Clark somewhat, as Gauff holds similar dominance within tennis, though Clark generates larger audience interest.
But everything when it comes to Coco Gauff is about the same in tennis as Caitlin Clark is in basketball. Except Caitlin's a much bigger draw. And players are freaked when Coco Gauff is not winning everything. But if we're going to be honest, Erin Kane got on this list. Caitlin Clark's agent got on this list. That is how powerful Caitlin Clark, the brand, is right now. That is it. This is a once-in-a-generation thing. It's like saying Stephen Curry is more powerful.
When Gauff doesn't win consistently, reactions intensify dramatically. The list's scope extends beyond athletes themselves. Even Erin Kane and Clark's agent earn spots, demonstrating the brand power surrounding Clark currently. This represents generational impact, comparable to Stephen Curry's cultural relevance, exceeding Nikola Jokic's despite their respective abilities. Comments predictably labeled Clark overrated and overhyped. Scrolling through engagement reveals typical patterns. Accusations of media manipulation. Questions about worthiness. Claims of gaslighting. Surprisingly, certain loaded terminology appeared less frequently than expected in this particular thread.
Is more relevant than Nikola Jokic, which he is. He is. And everything is everything is just there calling her out, being like, oh, she's overrated, she's overhyped. And I'm guessing when I click on the post engagement, it's a lot of that. Kathy seeing this, she's number one. True Mark Ray's anything possible I've lived. Okay, good. At least we're getting more common things.
Disagreement with the overrated assessment seems reasonable. Clark arguably faces underrating more than overrating at this point. When healthy, she ranks as the third best player globally. While Breanna Stewart's performance has declined somewhat, a healthy Clark legitimately occupies that third position. More people argue Clark shouldn't even start in the WNBA than claim she's the league's best player. Public perception increasingly leans toward underrating rather than overrating her abilities.